Thank you. Can I then ask, I think Honorable Mente, you were next.
Thank you very much, Chair. Trust me, I'm not going to be very long. So, Chair, the first thing I want to understand is from the Group C is in her understanding and on her own observation, is she making any impact which is taking a Transnet to a better trajectory than where she took off? Reason for this is we're given a picture of an improvement in the past 6 months. And in this past 6 months, it includes, if we calculate now correctly, from March to now is 5 months, meaning which the first month was February of the 6th. And that is then attributed to the previous leadership, meaning which when the previous leadership left, the improvement had started. And what is it that is different now, which is being done, that which the previous leadership did not do? Because I'm avoiding, Chair, a situation where we sit here comfortable and be satisfied, or rather lie to ourselves that there's an improvement which is not of this current team. And number two, it's very interesting when there's this argument of a state capture years. Yet those are the years that Transnet never came to this committee to report a loss. And the after state capture years, we're now reporting losses, even after the so-called state capture has been done and dealt with. There is no improvement. With everything that has taken place in terms of Transnet, one of the contributing factors was that exemption from accounting, which I still do not want to understand when we are given the financials and it says we report in the integrated report. That's not accountability. Who did what, where, when, and what happened to those people? That's what we want. Nothing else. We can phrase it whatever one, state capture years, what, no problem. Who did what, where, when? Who is that? And if we can't get that, Chair, I don't know why we will continue to sit here and then not explore other avenues into investigating as Parliament and understanding where Transnet is. That of the integrated report, I listened very carefully. No, we don't report on fruitless and wasteful energy. It goes to integrated report, and I'm like, no. It has to have names. It has to have an action. It has to have a cost. It can't be fruitless and wasteful expenditure, finding, yet it doesn't have a cost. Then it doesn't have a name. Then it doesn't have a consequence. Then that's not accountability. And there's no way we're going. We're going to have another leadership, and then it's now going to be blamed on the year of exemption. We're blaming everything now on the year of state capture. Then everything in next year, Chair, is going to be the years of exemption, if we leave it now. The third question I have is that which I posed to the Minister of Vetting. We sat with ESCOM that was deteriorating and things were not getting better, only to find at the end of the day, Chair, that the CEO was never vetted himself, he refused. Now we are told of 12 executive or rather higher position officials that have been suspended. Yet we don't know if amongst ourselves sitting here, we're sitting with some of those people, because there is no level of accountability in terms of understanding if people are law-abiding citizens. So can we get to understand the status of vetting of, firstly, the head, everyone who's here, this list, Chair, that was given, there's a separate list we're given. Just account on that one. Then the chairperson will send you the list of the rest. That must be reported, so that we have confidence in your leadership. I'm going to go back again to the CRRC. I don't hear the answer that's what being given. And what is the situation now? How are we going forward? Because it was blamed on maintenance that we have less fleet. Now we have more fleet that has come back. What is the plan going forward? We posed a question previously. Why are we going out of the country for maintenance in the main? What are the aspects of this maintenance that the scope takes it out and nothing is domestic? We have Denel, that's your sister company. Why is Denel not in the picture? Have you reached out to Denel? What is it that they can't do? We have Metro Rail that can move. Why can't Transnet come in? Again, theft and vandalism comes back. Have we diagnosed the reasons for theft and vandalism? Because there is only one problem with theft and vandalism, is lack of security. You can't put assets without someone looking after them. And that's what actually, Chair, collapsed Metro Rail. Because we removed securities and everything was gone. Then the price of rebuilding is far more than the price of actually creating jobs and having people looking after the assets. Because the vandalism is as a result of not having someone looking after them. With the highest unemployment of South Africa, we still do not create jobs in that we have people that are looking after the infrastructure. And then we are not going to pay more than we pay to rebuild the infrastructure than to pay for people looking after it. It's part and parcel, or rather the scope of having a healthy Transnet. And then the last one is on the take-or-pay. What are the statuses of your take-or-pay? Because that's another area where we have issues on this take-or-pay. And it's a gray area that we don't understand whether it helps Transnet to grow, or it's where a lot of money is leaking? What is happening at the take-or-pay contract? What informs it? What makes it a problem for Transnet, or rather a gain for Transnet? I'll end there. No, the last one is on investments.
Last one.
Yeah, is on investments. You reported that you are looking for investment. Can you explain to us the investments that are there which you stopped? You had an African business investment that was ongoing which you stopped. Now you are looking for other people to invest into Transnet. Where are we? What is happening? Because in the South African terrain, who's going to invest in Transnet except for Metro Rail currently that you must assist? But the Africa is looking for your is looking for your business, and outside, in fact, even of Africa, they are looking for your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mente. Ms. Phillips.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable Member. I will try my utmost to answer the questions in the order it was asked. The first question related to whether or not, as the new Group Chief Executive, I was making an impact. So my appointment was formally confirmed on the 1st of March of 2024. However, I've been acting in the position since October of 2023. October of 2023 marks the start of the Transnet Recovery Plan, which was developed together with myself as the acting chief executive at the time, and together with the various, whether they were acting chief executives of the various ODs. I think the numbers towards the second half or the first phase of that recovery plan is what we indicated on. Maybe we can move to slide. My apologies, I'm looking for the slide. Slide number 13. We indicated what the modelling showed from the experts, where we would have ended up and where we in fact ended up at the end of March of 2024. So when we look at the modelling, slide 13. When we look at the modelling, it shows you 142.8, and we ended up on 151.7. Now, as I've indicated, it was a stabilization of the business, and we foresee going forward that we will continue to improve. We've set very, very stretched targets for our people. What is it that is different from what the previous leadership? Again, Chair, I really want to focus on the kind of work that we are doing going forward. However, if we go to slide number, the triangle slide, slide number 8, which gives you the tactical things. We talk about the reform later. Now, on this slide, Chair, I can say to you that focus on operational execution is something that we've had to revive in the business. We, for whatever reason, did away with the GCOO position. We effectively did away with all structures that sought to deal with operational execution. I again, taking the words of the minister, is that, you know, the sins of the people before me, I have to deal with, and I take ownership of that. That is why you saw us now revive that by employing a GCOO. We have not had Group Operating Officer since, I think, 2020. All of those matters there that you see, equipment and infrastructure, are the building blocks of what we thought would allow us to improve on the operational execution. So, you know, these are the things that we are very clear on in terms of our diagnosis. Because if you get the interventions wrong, you're going to be effectively implementing the wrong things and you will not see improvement. And I believe certainly that because of the work that we have done in the first phase of the recovery plan, that is the reason why we were able to see the stabilization and then also a bit of a turnaround. Granted, it is not where we want to be. My personal choice would have been for it to have happened a bit faster. But I think with the situation where we find ourselves in, the promise that we had made to our customers at the time was that we would not further prejudice you by giving you, at the end of the 6 months, volumes that were below what was achieved in the previous year. And I think, Chair, I would want to leave that. Chair, I can't explain why Transnet was not in front of Parliament before. I understand they were making profits and now we are making losses. I think we've said very clearly why we are in the situation that we are in financially, and as well as by setting the operating context why we find ourselves where we are. But I think what is important is that we realize that it is not the place where we need to be if we want to make a valuable contribution to the economy of the country, and that it is more important for us right now to focus on how we get all stakeholders together to get us to be moving forward.
Sorry, Ms. Phillips, can I not let you off the hook on that question? What I understood Honorable Mente to be saying, and I'll refer to also something that the Minister said earlier, because it might be important. I think what Honorable Mente is asking is why is it that during the years prior to 2018, Transnet was turning a profit, and post-2018, Transnet is struggling. I think as Chief Executive, and especially that you've got access to historical information, you should be able to tell us why that was the case. And it shouldn't be difficult, so we should be able to answer that question, Ms. Phillips. I know you're not the Chief Executive, but the information is there, and you are the Chief Executive now.
It also shows the, there's a slide, is it this one that shows the redemptions? The interest portion. If you look at the interest portion and how that has increased steadily over the period, because of all of these loans, you'll see that was incurred in previous years. So those were the loans that were incurred in previous years. It has resulted in major finance cost for the business. We have had to, you can see the trajectory in terms of the capital investment as well. But if you look at the cash interest cover, you see how that steadily reduces. Now, this is why you can see Transnet is in the debt that we find ourselves under and the rate at which we've had to redeem the debt is part of the reason why Transnet is in the situation that it is currently. Outside of the performance that is clearly not at the standard at which it should be, but you can't have a situation where one, you have a performance issue, you're failing to maintain your network, you're not getting equipment in at the right rates, but you have a debt burden that you have to consistently be redeeming. So, in a nutshell, I think this is the picture that tells the story.
So, Ms. Phillips, let me share my understanding of what's going on. and then you tell me, and the Auditor General's office is here, and they've got a microphone, and maybe we can get there faster, because I don't want us to move away from this point. And for me, it's got nothing to do with state capture and who was right and who was wrong. The numbers are the numbers. My understanding of the story is from 2011, thereabouts, we make a policy and strategic decision to invest in locomotives and other equipment. That, I believe, is a correct decision. That process later becomes contentious. The net result thereof is the following. It has not, that investment has not yielded anything. So I'm trying to now shorten the story for clarity's sake. We invest the money. We have borrowed the funds from financial institutions in various forms. The investments that we're supposed to get into the network are not bearing fruit because they are disputed one way or the other. We are having to continue to pay financial institutions for assets we don't have. There is something between, between Transnet and the CRCC, then there are issues involving SARS and there are issues involving the SA Reserve Bank, but the net result, and that's why I asked the Minister this question, because it appears to me that multiple interventions are needed. Whatever the reasons were for us not getting those assets, we need them and they should be here. Because that has an impact on the volumes that we are able to transport. And so I want us to be able to disaggregate these issues. So that's the first thing, and that's a picture that you've given to us. There are other factors according to your presentation as well. Those factors include maintenance. The Minister alluded to some things I need you to address, which is, for the sake of having cash on the bottom line, there are certain maintenance and other commitments that were then not fulfilled at certain periods. We can't leave that statement hanging. We need to know whether that is so, and if that is so, to what extent that became a problem. So that is the second thing that makes sense out of this presentation. The third thing that makes sense out of this presentation is that there is a security problem. What I need to understand is, A, what is the specific impact of that security problem? What is the tonnage involved? And what is therefore the relationship between that and the revenue? 1. 2, what are the investments in security? 3, is this a battle that Transnet is winning, or is a battle that Transnet is not winning? In other words, to the extent you know, are the incidences of this security, the theft and the vandalism and so on, decreasing, or are they still increasing? It's nice that we know that you've got X number of drones. What I'm interested in is, are those drones yielding the results that we know? Because then we should know as the committee whether into perpetuity we'll pay ever increasing amounts of money for security interventions that ultimately yield nothing. And in the event that they do not yield anything, I want to know who is responsible. And I fully understand there's what Transnet can do, there's what law enforcement can do. Who's failing in that regard? Thank you. So if we can just get to those issues, and if there's something that I got wrong in my characterization, there is, but I don't want us to only look at the debt, because it is one part. There's security, there's operational efficiency, inefficiencies, and so on.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to find another presentation, Chair.
While you do that, Honourable Mente.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Now, Giselle, I understand you have given us presentations. I think at this stage, you ought to explain yourself thoroughly of what is the situation, and also make proper reconciliations, because loans and the drop in performance and lack of maintenance and security problems don't reconcile. Loans don't explain the drop in performance, because 226 versus 151 can't be explained by the debt servicing. That's what I'm trying to explain. So I think it's best for you to just explain the situation without referring to this slide, that you can do that, but just give it to us. What's happening? Thank you.
Give a narration, Ms. Phillips, if you can.
Thank you, Chair. I will try. I think you've explained the way you've explained it correctly. What I was going to try to do is to actually give the numbers. Unfortunately, I think because we were trying to compress the presentation as much as possible, it didn't make it into the presentation intended for the members. So you are correct, Chair. We purchased 1064 locomotives. We spent money on those locomotives. All of those assets did not come into the system, and we are not getting the benefit of all of those assets, whilst at the same time we are having to pay for loans, whether it be redeeming loans or costs attached to those loans, despite not having the return that is attached to the specific loan. So you are 100% correct in that, and that is why you find that the numbers, the debt number keeps increasing. And unfortunately, we have to continue to increase the debt. I mean, even if you look at the support that we have now received from government, which is the 47 billion rand, that has given us the mandate, in fact, the authority to go and borrow more, which means we've got more cost. But that's the one. Number two, the issue of maintenance. So on a yearly basis, whether it be in respect of capex or maintenance, we have requirements from the various operating divisions, and they will say to you, for example, we need 10 billion. We then look at the affordability of the capex or the affordability of the maintenance, and we then have to send them back and say, this is what is affordable for the business, which is why you have this backlog, which has not only come now, but it's come over a number of years, probably since 2017, 2018. The third one, and if I go to the numbers, you'll see that revenue losses due to security incidents in 23-24 equated to approximately 2.1 billion rand. That is pure interruption in the network. Trains cannot move, or product cannot move, and because of that interruption, no volume moves. We have to now repair the damage that was caused by the criminal elements who have now caused this interruption. It could be stealing of cable, it could be stealing of the signaling systems. Because of the stealing of the signaling systems, we now have to have what we call manual authorizations. So rather than train drivers having signals that tells them they can enter into a specific area, we have manual authorizations, which takes a long time, which means it slows down the entire chain of working. The other aspect, I think, of the security one is we see the cable theft. Cable theft incidents in 2016-2017 stood at 1,709 incidents. In 2017-2018, it was 1,598. In 23-24, that number increased to 4,411 incidents of cable theft. Now, part of the improvement, so if you look at the total kilometers that have been stolen, since 2016-2017, it went from 113 kilometers to 1,000 kilometers of cable that is being stolen off the network. In all of those incidents, we lose revenue. We have had to increase our security costs to be able to do that, and we have had to, at the same time, spend money on remediation to ensure that the network then gets to the correct standard. So those are the things that have contributed to the revenue not being necessarily at the right levels, but also the operating expenditure increasing. I'm hoping that I've...
Those are my follow-ups. So, Honorable Mente, I think two more questions. I remember one of them was the take-or-pay issue, but there was another one just before.
There was a question about the vetting of staff. You recall, Honourable Member, in the last year when we were here, this was also a topic. Of course, we had different leadership at the time. We have the list that you have there. All of us have, in fact, been going through vetting processes. Some people have been cleared. We've got all the stats, and we can provide that for you. So the process is ongoing, but certainly it's commenced very early on with my team. I've had several interviews now with the State Security Agency, and they've been working flat out to try and clear everybody. We are not 100% cleared. I've just received the numbers, but I mean, we're quite willing to make the numbers available to the committee if that's in order. And it goes through all the way from the board, all the way down to the various levels of the organization, my office, and everybody reporting to me, and lower down. So that exercise is definitely ongoing, Chair. There was another question around, apologies, Chair. Together with that exercise, Honourable Member, is the lifestyle audit exercise. We also have a report of the current status of lifestyle audits of employees in Transnet, and we can also make that available. Thanks, Chair. There was a question on the take-or-pay. The take-or-pay matter, in fact, the Auditor General is here because they can also comment. It's one that we had to pay particular attention to in this last audit. So on the take-or-pay, we've had instances since 2020 where Transnet has failed to meet the requirements of the customer. So what that means is that when we fail to meet the requirements of the customer, we are penalized. So we have to now pay the customer the penalty. So in 2020-21, that penalty was not paid. For whatever reason, Chair, it was not paid. I'm still trying to figure out why that happened, but it didn't happen. It did happen. 21-22, the penalty was also not paid. 23-24, the penalty was also not paid. As a leadership team in this year, we made the decision that we will resolve the issue of unpaid take-or-pay penalties in this year, because it helps us also with our, remember, we're trying to collaborate with our customer. So these are the things that we need to clean out as we move forward. So what we then did, we went and engaged the customer on the take-or-pay penalties. There were really four main customers, coal export customers. Those customers agreed, in fact, to waive the take-or-pay penalties. We had a total of 2.5 billion. We had a total of 2.5 billion in take-or-pay penalties that the customers were entitled to. We went, negotiated with those customers. All four customers elected to waive the take-or-pay penalties on the agreement that going forward, we would work together with them in terms of how we would want to increase the movement of the cargo going forward. All of the improvement initiatives, they would be working with us. Two of the customers, we had to provide them capacity in other channels. The other two customers, who are pure Richards Bay coal terminal customers, decided that they'll waive the penalty, but going forward, there will be no further waivers of penalties should we fail to perform. What we've then had to do on the basis of the direction received from the Auditor General is still continue to provide for those customers who did not waive unconditionally. And that's really the issue with the take-or-pay penalty. So we're hoping that that story is now resolved and that going forward, we perform. Alternatively, we would need to pay a take-or-pay penalty should we fail to perform.
All right, so I'm going to ask a follow-up, but answer it after Honorable Atkinson has asked his questions, because I do have a follow-up on this take-or-pay, because we had a conversation with the Auditor General's office, and I have been involved in my life with the preparation of financial statements before. And tell me if this is not true. Tell the committee if this is not true. you can also, because if that had stayed, those penalties had stayed on your books, they sit as a liability for which you must make provision or pay them, which means your loss widens from 7 point something odd billion to closer to 10 billion rand. And what I want to know is whether nobody went to those suppliers and said, please, man, do me a solid, waive them for now, and we'll deal with them after the reporting period. Because if we don't waive them right now, then our financials we don't meet our financial ratios in terms of our debt covenants. And this could present us as, I just want to understand that that is not so, because I look at that relative to your projections of what tonnage you will be able to carry. And what the reconciliation I need is that in terms of your plan, that the terms on which those have been waived are going to be met. Otherwise, all we've done is we've resolved a reporting period issue. Otherwise, those penalties come back. Because in terms of what you've said those penalties come back anyway. So I need to know, on behalf of the committee, whether there is capacity to then meet that new commitment. Otherwise, the penalties don't exist now. When you come back to Parliament in the next financial year, they are back on, and we have a new problem. Sorry? And the exemption from the irregular expenditure in the report, that waiver from Treasury. Thanks. So can I ask, so let's hear Honorable Atkinson. Start with Honorable Mente and my follow-up, and then go to Honorable Atkinson, because I want us to move and cover as many members as possible.
If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. And as always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.